Continue now with our focus on higher education and where we find students with regard to fees, where we find universities as well. Nobesuthu Hejana in the Western Cape for us. Nobesuthu, yes, we've got an idea of what's happening here in Johannesburg. We've got an idea earlier from Dessen when it came to KZN. In the Western Cape, what remain the burning issues? What progress has been made, if any, over students' issues and problems and challenges?
Well, Yuveka, you will remember that the UWC was the first university in the country to announce that it will allow students to register with historic debt, but it did say that it will not scrap out the outstanding fees, but there will be plans to ensure that they are paid. But I'm now joined by the university spokesperson, Mr. Gasant. So we spoke to students earlier on at the UWC institution, and they were saying that allowing them to register while they have historic debt does not actually mean anything to them because they are carrying that burden of financial issues.
Yeah, look, the profile of our students are very different to most other universities. We are considered a historically disadvantaged institution, so a lot of our students are first-generation students. They don't come from rich families, so understand, and we're very cognizant and sensitive to that. But at the same time, because our fees are considerably lower than most universities, it's a sectoral conversation that needs to happen. UWC can't take a unilateral decision to scrap historic debt without a conversation with organizations like University South Africa and indeed the Department of Higher Education and the Minister. So I understand, and we're compassionate with students, obviously, but at the same time, historically we've never not registered a student because they had historical debt. If a student is deserving, they can always make a plan with our student credit management. We've had students doing their undergrad for 10 years, and in that 10 years, you can make a plan to pay off your studies.
So is there a time frame, or how are you working out them paying out the outstanding fees?
So each case is a case-by-case basis, so the student is invited to submit their own plan. Does it happen via debit order or cash payment, whatever it takes, but the idea is that we treat each student as a unique case. There's no one blanket approach. The student makes an appointment with the student credit management, and then a plan is worked out. And obviously the university, like I mentioned earlier, is sensitive to the type of students we attract, I'm not saying all of them are indigent, but what I am saying is we do recognize that we have a different profile of students. The other thing that you must bear in mind is that there has been some issues with funding, the National Financial Aid Scheme, and we've registered those students as well. So it's not something we budgeted for, but it's something that we felt we needed to do because last year was a difficult year. People lost their jobs. Emotionally for students it was difficult to connect and learn online. Fortunately, we were able to acquire devices for them. We had a 94% participation rate in all of our courses over 2020, which is actually higher ironically, than when students are actually on campus.
And I also spoke to one of the student leaders there at UWC who was saying that it is now time for institutions to actually come up with a funding model, not only to depend on government and NSFAS. So is UWC looking into those type of discussions?
Look, it's a discussion that happens at every university, especially one like ours, the HDI, the Historically Disadvantaged Institution. So historically, UWC didn't get the kind of funding that the more established universities had in the past, So we do rely on grants from government and subsidies from government to stay ahead and kind of catch up to their level. We also remember we were born in 1960, so we're 60 years old effectively. So we're not as old, and we don't have the deep pockets that some of the universities have around the country, the more established ones. So, as I said again, yes, we need to be creative. The economy isn't great at the moment, but there needs to be a sectoral response to what the students are asking for. And we obviously listen to the students. We've got a brand new SRC. They've met all the executives. The issues have been put on the table, and there will be engagements with the sectoral bodies like USAF, the minister and the department.
All right, thank you very much. Well, Yuveka, that was the spokesperson of UWC, Gasant, who was saying that they're actually looking into those discussions where a number of issues have been raised by students. We're saying that it's time for institutions to actually look for their own funding model to ensure that no student is left behind or delayed due to NSFAS maybe delaying in terms of like payment and stuff.
All right, Nobesuthu Hejana speaking there to Gasant Abarder. Thank you very much for that. That's the